Before I show you a single slide, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm not just going to show you pictures, and I'm going to go through some data, but I want to say, first of all, thank you for coming. But let me tell you a little bit about myself, right? So I grew up in Liberia, West Africa. For some of you who don't know, Liberia is a tiny country, about 5.5 million people on the west coast of Africa, compared to other countries like Ghana and Nigeria, were very tiny. So I grew up in Liberia. I grew up during the Civil War, the Liberian Civil War. And the numbers you're going to see here, the data you're going to see here, I live every single one of them. Imagine as a young boy, 8, 10 years, so you have to fetch water on your head. You have to go, and I will show you guys some images, and that's still going on as we speak, even though we're in 2026, when people are going to the moon and going to Mars, but we're still fetching water on our heads, right? So I was that 8, 10-year-old, 12-year-old little kid in the morning before I go to school. I'll go to the well. You drop a bucket down, fetch water, put it in your bucket. You have to go and fill up. You had this big drum. You had to fill up that drum. That was your assignment before you even get ready for school. So everything I'm showing you here, the reason is very intimately connected is because that's a lived experience. I'm not just showing you numbers or showing you data. And unfortunately, that is something that millions of people in Africa still experience every single day. So living in a house where when it rains very heavily, you have to get a little bucket or a bowl and and you put it certain parts of the house so the whole house don't get soaked. That was my experience. And you still have a lot of people who are experiencing that as we speak. Also, electricity. We're all here in America, so we take these things for granted, where you have 24-hour electricity. You don't even have to worry about power going out. If it goes out, it's maybe once in a blue moon when there's maybe a hurricane or some natural disaster. But imagine as a little kid where electricity was a luxury. Maybe if your parents were very rich and you had a generator, but even the generator, because it's expensive, it won't be on 24/7. It will come on maybe 12 hours a day, then it gets shut during the day. So I live all of those. No running water, no electricity. Internet was a luxury. Back then, I won't give out my age, but let's just say back then, there was nothing like home internet. So if you wanted to access the internet, you had to go downtown. You had to go to something called an internet cafe. People in West Africa would know what I'm talking about. Here in America, you're telling people internet cafe, and they're like, what is that? Because everybody has internet on their phone, everybody has internet at home, but all of those were luxuries. So that was life experience. Now, I'm a Christian, so I would say I was blessed to immigrate to America when I was a teenager. And I did well for myself, did all the right things. Your parents would tell you, go to school, stay out of trouble, all of that. And I graduated, got my doctorate of pharmacy degree from Temple University. But it has always bothered me, like, why can't we have these things? We have all the natural resources. We're not dumb. You have some of the smartest minds in Africa. Why can't we have these things? So I set out in 2020. That was during COVID or around COVID, 2020, 2021, when everyone was locked indoors, I had all the free time on my hands, and I was bored. That's one thing. And I said, how can I use all this free time wisely? How can I be a little more productive? So the idea came to mind because I've always wanted to help, and Minzo was born. Now, in my local language, which is Mano in northern Liberia, it borders Ivory Coast. Minzo means human heart, someone who cares. And I've always cared for my people because I always believe in the elevator approach to life. That is, if you're fortunate to take the elevator to go to the top, don't just leave it at the top, send it back down to pull more people up. So I established Minzo. This was 5 years ago. And the whole goal was very simple. It was to economically empower young people under the age of 40, to give hope to young people who do not have hope. Because when I was growing up, I was not an A student. I'll be honest. No, I was not an A student. I was not the smartest in my class. There are so many young people that are a million times smarter than me who will never amount to anything, not because it's their fault, not a fault that you can place on them, but it's just a fault of their location. Sometimes they say you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. So those people just happen to be born and stuck in the wrong place. I'll show you some surveys. I'll show you some data here that speaks to that, where about roughly 95% of young people through this survey told us that if they had the opportunity to leave Liberia, and this is not just limited to Liberia because this is a microcosm. West Africa, the culture, everything is kind of similar. There are differences here and there, but what applies to one country, about 60, 70%, you can generally say it can apply to all of West Africa. It's almost like the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, different, but we're similar in a lot of ways. So it's the same with West Africa. So that, for Minzo, our goal is very simple, Minzo Africa. That is, we want to provide 150,000 good-paying jobs to young people. Why 150,000 good-paying jobs? That is in the next 10 years. Because through my own personal experience and through data, because the data confirms all these things, your personal experiences. I don't need data to know all these things, but the data is more so for people who have not lived these experiences. That each good-paying job in West Africa, I can't speak for the rest of Africa. West Africa is what I know. Each good-paying job in West Africa has a direct economic impact in lifting 10 people out of poverty and an indirect impact in lifting 25 people out of poverty. So I use myself as an example. When I was growing up, my mother was doing a very good job because she was a journalist working for a foreign-owned radio station, right? Because of that one good paying job, I was able to get a quality education, my siblings and I. My grandparents, my aunties, uncles, cousins, extended relatives from the village, she was able to pay her siblings rent. Someone is sick, they'll come to her, she will take care of that. So because of that one job, this is actually being conservative. She was able to pay school fees for so many of her nieces, nephews, people in the village, everyone. I would say about 30 people. Just that one job. Imagine if you can provide 150,000 good paying jobs. You multiply that on the conservative end, 10. What you've done in essence is now you've helped to lift 1.5 million people out of poverty. And poverty is kind of generational. If your parents are poor in Africa, 8 out of 10 chance that you will also be poor. So if we can lift these people out of poverty, we can also ensure that your kids will not live in poverty. So that is a very big mission, and that's means of Africa. That is what we're trying to do. Now, what does that have to do with what we're doing here? This is the African Development and Capital Forum. We're in the year 2026. We see everything that's going on globally. A lot of people say Africa is the future. I wholeheartedly disagree. I don't think Africa is the future. I think Africa is the present. Because if Africa was the future, why do you think every major power is trying to get a piece of Africa right now? Why every major company that knows what they want, there's a scramble for Africa right now? The Chinese, Americans, Turkish, Indians, Lebanese, you just go down the line, Russians, everybody, Americans, everybody is trooping into Africa right now. If Africa was the future, why is everyone scrambling now? So when it comes to investment, I tell people all the time, you can never find a diamond in a clean place. You can never find diamond, like you'll never find diamond on a paved street. You'll find diamond in those places that nobody wants to go. Africa is that diamond in the rough right now. So there are a lot of people who want to invest in Africa. A lot of people want to do things in Africa, but they don't know how to get started. And there are a lot of Africans on the ground who are doing amazing things. They are innovating solutions that can change lives. Think about this guy. I think he's in Zimbabwe or one of these Southern African countries. He's actually innovated a system or a process or something that a car can just run on water. Why is that guy not being funded? Or think about the guy in Ghana, I forgot his name, you can check him out on YouTube, who is building affordable houses with recycled plastic and sand. And now the price of house of home, he's been able to decrease that by almost 90%. Because as you see in the survey, over 90% of people, especially people under the age of 40, cannot even afford $150 for rent. But yet and still, all of the construction that's been done, or the majority, are out of reach for these people. There are $500, $700 of rent, whereas the average person cannot even earn up to 400 United States dollars a month. What happens to those people? Aren't those people deserving of dignity, of having running water, electricity? So that is what we set out to do. So I created this forum to link diaspora professionals, to link investors, to link anybody who is interested in seeing Africa grow and Africa moving forward, and also is interested in investing in Africa, to be that bridge, to link people who are doing the work in Africa to those who want to support. And that support can be in the form of investment, that support can be in the form of mentorship, that support can be in the form of volunteering, it can be in so many ways. So this is our third event here at the African Development and Capital Forum. It's a monthly event. So our next event will be in July. And we're trying to grow this because, as I say, a lot of people are interested in Africa right now. A lot of people. But they don't know where to start. And we want to be that bridge. So today's meeting topic, we've started something because I briefly talked about the housing crisis, and let me touch on that, and then we'll go into the data. Right now, there's massive need for affordable housing in West Africa. There's a major gap, and there are, I think, about 16 countries, 15 or 16 countries in West Africa. Of course, everyone knows Nigeria and Ghana. Those are the big boys everybody knows, but there are other countries in West Africa besides those two. But there's a major shortage of affordable housing, especially in urban areas, because West Africa is undergoing rapid urbanization. I think it's either the fastest or one of the fastest in the world, one of the fastest regions. But all those people moving to the urban areas, they need a place to stay. But they cannot afford what is being built, and the impact can be felt all over. So what we wanted to do is do a survey, and we started in Liberia. Commission a survey instead of assuming what people want, instead of, because the idea people have in the West, which is kind of a little, let's just say, off-putting. They want to assume that they know what you want. Instead of listening to you, they want to tell you what you want or what you should need, right? This time, we're flipping that script. We're saying, okay, let's hear what they want and see if we can give them what they want. So that's why we commissioned this survey. So Liberia has 15 counties, and the most populous county is Montserrado County. So Montserrado is where the capital city is, and it makes up roughly 20% of the population. Why we chose Montserrado? Number one, it's the most populated region in Liberia, or county. So county is the version of state here in America. So you say state, then you have county in Liberia. So that's the correlation. And number two, that's the wealthiest. And when I show you these numbers, you say, what? That's the wealthiest and they're that poor? But for Liberia, that's the wealthiest. That's where it has the highest concentration of educated people, wealthy people, businesses, all those things. So, and it's more urban, so it's a lot easier to do a survey, like, the population density is a lot higher compared to, rural areas, right? So you get more bang for your buck, trying to do the survey. So we commission it in Monrovia. So, because the thing is, when you're doing research, you have to take some preventive measures so you don't oversample certain populations, right? So Liberia has Montserrado County has strategically 7 locations that are evenly distributed. So we went to, again, you guys are not from Liberia, you don't know, but for those of you watching on YouTube, you can attest to that. So we started in Brewerville. So we have Brewerville, we have Douala, we have Central Monrovia, that's like the downtown. Then we have St. Paul, Red Light, Painesville, and I think we have Maban Point is where all the dignitaries, that's where all the foreigners live, like the ambassadors, NGO. No, that's like one of prime real estate. So we also sample there. So we try to do this survey and the research, get a geographic, evenly distributed sample. Also, we know that a lot of people are online. So we commissioned a survey also on Facebook, running Facebook ads, and also in person. So, for example, there are some people, you may not believe it, but there are some people who don't have smartphones, like market women, traders. They are not online. So how do you reach those people? So we have few survey. We have a team of 5 people. So they work about 10 hours a day. They go out in the field Monday to Saturday, go out to all these different locations, to schools, churches, mosques, businesses, interviewing people. And then we'll also have Facebook for those who are more internet savvy. They can do they can take it online. Our goal is to sample at least 2,000 because the population of Montserrado County, and I stand to be corrected, as of my last check on that, I think it's around 900,000. So our goal is to sample at least 2,000 people between now and or August, between 2,000 to 5,000. So we're going to go into it, and I want to make this a free-flowing discussion. I don't want it to be like a lecture, like it's not a seminar where you go and talk for 1 hour and at 30 minutes in people are nodding like, No, I want it to be interactive. So feel free if you have any questions. I'm going to throw questions. Yeah, so we want to make it interactive. So I'm going to ask you questions. You can ask me questions. But before I proceed into the data, any questions?
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. That's very, very good. I thought, even though I'm from Africa, I guess like you said, past Africa can be different. So this is a good baseline of what you give us to give us a backdrop of what Liberia is about. And, some of your experiences are great because I can relate to that.
Exactly.
So that's very good. That's very inspirational for what you're trying to do. More than just an investment business. The fact that even the name, it represents what you're trying to do, and that's commendable, and that's very, very good.
Thank you.
So very, very appreciate this. I think I'll be attending every one of them because I'm always continuously learning, and I'm very inspired by what you're doing.
Okay.
So keep it up. On the survey, I have a question for you. Is there current data out there that you guys can leverage instead of you guys doing it, all on your own? What drives the need for you guys to feel like there is no data outstanding there that in this generation where you can just tap into to know what's happening and then you feel the need to do it yourself?
Yeah, you raise a very good point. So the reason I decided to commission a survey is very simple. Number one, we didn't find the kind of data that we're looking for, right? Because you see from the survey, even though it's about real estate, but we also ask economic questions. So it was a combination of two. So we couldn't find any survey that combined the two, economic data with with asking real estate questions. So that was the first. And the few we're able to find, they were kind of outdated, maybe 8-10 years ago. Because if you're trying to solve a problem now, you want to know about the current condition of those people, because things move very fast, right? So data from 3 years ago may not be as valid, as data today, or data from 10 years ago may not, because a child that was 10 years old 10 years ago is now 20-year-old, right? Like an 18-year-old 10 years ago is now 28-year-old. Maybe that person has one child, they're out of college, maybe they have 2 children, So, and the population is also growing, right? So that's the reason we decided to commission this survey. The goal is to eventually survey the entire country, but due to limited funds and our time crunch, we decided to start in Monserrate County because it has the highest population density. So it's easier to do survey than in rural areas.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So one last question on this.
Sure.
So now, maybe we'll get into the data later on to know where you're thinking of the housing project is going to be. But my assumption is it's going to be around the area you survey, or is it the investment going to be way outside of that where you have not surveyed, or is it going to be concentrated on your survey area?
Okay. And you're asking a lot of good questions because I'm thinking maybe those of you watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching, you probably have the same questions. So now we are doing this survey for two reasons. Number one, that's our own internal stuff. So technically we shouldn't be sharing it because someone else may steal some information. But so we want to see, because this is something that we want to do at some point. Because remember, our whole goal at Means of Africa is to provide 150,000 good-paying jobs by 2034. So we're in 2026, so we have 8 more years. Now, a lot of people will say, are you crazy? 150,000, no one provides that type of job except the government, right? But I am a person of faith that I believe that if your goals don't scare you, you're not big enough. And this is not a goal to say, oh, I want to become a millionaire or billionaire. This is a goal to make an impact. This is a goal to give thousands or if not millions of people hope. It's a God-sized goal. And I believe with that goal and with the support of many people, and because I'm a religious person with God, I believe it is possible. So it may seem too big, but with the moves we are making, we'll be able to achieve that. So the first reason we're doing the survey is to find out where the need is, because you can't invest capital without knowing exactly what you're getting into, right? So you don't go in blind. And then the second thing is because our goal here is to genuinely help people. If you make any money, it will just be a byproduct, but that's not the reason. So we want to share this with as many people out there, companies, investors. If anyone, we would rather have 10 companies building affordable housing than one company, right? The more, the better. So we want to share this with other people who are thinking about something similar so they can be inspired and see, oh, there is a need. And there's also, because I understand you're investing money, so it's not charity, but to also let you know that you can do two things at the same time. You can also lift people up, you can impact lives, and make money at the same time. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? So if you're out there, you're thinking about building affordable housing in West Africa, please, by all means, do it. And the data will show you. We want as many people as possible to get in to make an impact. And also, the reason we chose, we're thinking about real estate. Also, it gives you the biggest bang for your buck. Why is that? Because if you start to do, it's not just real estate, but any kind of infrastructure project, it gives you, like the highest employment, per dollar. This is why usually when the government wants to stimulate the economy, they take on infrastructure project, right? So let's just say we start this, and our goal is to build hundreds of affordable homes. So if you start that, you will need people to do that. You need people to make the bricks. You don't have to be college educated to know how to make bricks, right? So you got a few dozen people or hundreds of people, that's job for them, right? We need people to drive the trucks, the heavy equipment, that's job for those people. We need carpenters, that's job for those people, right? We'll need people to market That's job for those people, right? So you see that by just doing that project in and of itself, you can be able to provide a lot of jobs. Whereas compared to, like, say, agriculture or other like real estate and just infrastructure development gives you the biggest bang for your buck. And that is the whole purpose. We want to provide jobs for people. So you get to provide jobs, you get to give people affordable housing, all of that. So you get more, a lot more benefits than almost anything out there. Compared to, let's say, you're doing a fintech. If you're building a fintech app or whatever, at most maybe you need 5 or 10 people. You don't need that many. But this you need, with what we're trying to do, you need thousands of people to do it. Any other questions? All right, let's get into the data. One of my favorite quotes was from a hip hop, one of the famous hip hop artists out there. He said, "Men lie, women lie, numbers don't." Does anyone know who is that? Come on, you should know.
I know the lyric.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Jay-Z. Yeah. All right. So now, as I say, if you're West African, you probably know these things very intuitively, right? You don't need numbers to tell you these things. So this is more so for our non-African friends. All right. So Liberia's housing market, what residents want and where the investment opportunities are. And we're pairing two things, because the ideal situation, right? The ideal solution would be for the government to get involved and build affordable housing. Like, for example, we're in Washington, D.C., right? D.C. subsidizes housing for low-income earners. That's, again, for those of you not from America, you don't know, but there's something called Section 8, right? Where the government says, okay, if your income is below a certain amount, then we can subsidize, your rent. So if your rent is, let's say, $5,000, you will pay $4,000. You only have to pay $1,000, right? The government also builds affordable housing, or they will subsidize developers to build affordable housing. So why can't we have something like that in West Africa, where the government subsidizes affordable housing, where there will be no need for private investors to even get involved, where the government actually solves that problem? They have the money. The only thing is, do they have the will, right? So, and I'll keep driving at this point, investment opportunities. A lot of people think that if you're doing good, it has to be free. But all of this costs money. Our initial estimate to complete this project in Monserrado County would be around $25 million, right? It costs money. So if someone is going to invest $25 million into something, they want a return, right? It's not charity, right? So the point I'm trying to, and I'll keep emphasizing on this, is that you can make money and do good at the same time. They don't have to be exclusive. You can make money and do good at the same time. Now, you can make money and harm people, but you can also make money and help people. And that is out there. All right. So real data, real demand, and real opportunities. All right. We can see this. Okay. So you see this number says 451. Again, the survey is still ongoing. So as of 1 hour ago when I checked, we're actually up to 482, because everything gets updated live, every hour. So we're up to 482 respondents. So the survey findings, we'll keep that 451 for now. 97% of our survey respondents want a modern community, modern living amenities. And when I mean modern, I'm not talking about, oh, you must have swimming pool and basketball court and jacuzzi. I'm not talking about any of that. When I mean modern, the bare minimum, basic. They want running water, they want electricity, and they want Wi-Fi, internet, home internet. And those are things even the poorest of the poorest in America has. They just want the bare minimum, and that is what is considered modern. So as I said, we surveyed 7 locations in Montserrado County in Liberia. So there were 2 groups. We had the online group. As I said, we're running it on Facebook. And for those of you who want to run these types of research, if you don't want to do field survey, Facebook is a very good platform to run these ads and do these surveys, right? Because most people, the majority of people who are online, about 98% of people online in Liberia are on Facebook. So if you want to reach the people in Liberia online, Facebook is like your go-to. Not TikTok, not Instagram, not Twitter, it's Facebook. 98% of people who are online in Liberia have a Facebook account and check it at least once a month. So if you want to reach people, Facebook gives you, now, if you want to reach people online in Liberia, Facebook gives you the biggest bang for your buck. So go ahead.
Are those people distributed throughout the country, or are they concentrated in the urban area?
So the good thing about Facebook is it allows you to do targeting. So you can target to specific locations. So when we ran the Facebook ads, we targeted Montserrado County. Yeah, Montserrado County. And like the same way, you can target, like Facebook, and not just Facebook, I think social media, all social, you can even target down to specific zip codes. Like, only show my ads to people in this zip code. Or you can even come down to specific streets. Yeah, show my ad to people on this street, right? So it's pinpointed. Yeah, so we targeted that to people in Montserrado. So far, we have 2 sets. For the Facebook, we have 75 responses so far. And the people, because it's online, right? So anyone can fill it, even though the ad should target Montserrado County, but technically someone can not be living in Montserrado. Maybe they're just visiting friends. They're there and they fill it out, right? So something. But we found out that the online cohort was more educated, and I'll show you the numbers broken down by degrees. They're more educated and they have higher income. Because, for example, if you can afford to have a smartphone, chances are you're probably doing a lot better off than someone who cannot afford to have a smartphone, right? So just, and then the field survey is conducted on the ground in Monrovia, and we go to multiple neighborhoods, as I said, the 7 neighborhoods, and we have more broad, like a broader income and demographic range. So the first thing here, we found gender, and don't ask me why. I don't know why, but 26% of our respondents were female and 74% male. Again, I don't know why, but that's what it is. And then the largest group, because we try to break it down into 5-year age range. So our largest group was age 30 to 34. And that's the largest age group. And that's prime working age, right? And the most common household size, because we ask people, like, what's the size of your household, or how many people live in your house? 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 8 to 11, 11 plus. So the most common was 3 to 5. So now this is for developers. If you are looking to build something, the most common, at least you're looking at, and at least 30% of your unit should be built to house 3 to 5 people.
So
Where?
what's most common? I mean, 50%.
So the numbers year, I can show you year. So so the 3 to 5, let me show you here just 1 minute. Because we have it here. So, and when we're doing this survey, we have we get their phone number, their email address, because the goal is once this is built in the future, in a few years from now, we can now they can be first on the list. We can email them, call them, and say, hey, remember you filled this out in 2026, the survey, now we have units available. Do you still need housing, right? So it's a form of gathering data. Yeah. So the 3 to 5 is about 43%. And now I just had to extract this data to put it in the PowerPoint. So I didn't, because there's a lot more here. So I didn't want to make it too long. So like summary, summarize and put it there. But it's 43%. And then the household size, 6 to 8 people live in your house, is around 29%. And then 1 to 2 people is around 12%. Whereas in America, I'm sure that would be a little different. Most of the household sizes would be maybe 1 to 2 or 3 people. But you see here the most common is so between 3 to 5 and 6 to 8, 29%, 43%. So that's what, almost 72%. So that's more than 2/3. Okay. And as I said, feel free to interrupt me because these are very good questions. All right. So the next thing here, we wanted to know, are you renting? Do you own? Right? Because we want to see if there's demand. And from our survey here, you can see that only 10% of people, roughly 10% of people own. That means 90% of people are either renters or living with family. So that tells, again, I don't know does anyone know what the home ownership rate is in America? I don't know. I mean, but I'm assuming it'll be a lot higher than 10%. 40%, right? Aha. Yeah, 40%. So imagine for you as a real estate investor, that's huge potential. If you can provide affordable rentals that give these people what they want, you will walk away making a difference and also getting a huge return on your money. So 90% of our survey respondents do not own a home. Now, West Africa is different. You have your richer countries in West Africa. You have your poor. Your richer countries will be like countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, maybe Senegal. Those are the 4 big boys. But countries like Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali were on the poor side. I don't know about Gambia, but I know these 4 countries will be, yeah.
It would be about the same because people who are in the age of 45 and stuff, I think only 11% of them fill this out, right?
Yeah.
For the majority, that is more like upcoming and youth population of 30 to 34. It makes sense that about that 8 to 9% only can kind of have that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the market you are targeting. Those that would want more new, modern kind of house, and those are the target market, and that makes sense.
Yeah, and the majority of our survey respondents, I'll show you later. The majority of our survey respondents were under the age of 40. About 2/3 were under the age of 40. Okay, and then live with family, because in Africa, especially West Africa, a lot of people start out living with family. Maybe you're living with your uncle, your cousin, because people can afford. So you live with your family for as long as you can before you even go and rent your own place. Okay.
And I'd like to add one more thing.
Sure.
I know that 56% are renters, and people focus on that, right? But I have some cousins who are kind of acting smart and they're living with family. So that line also, those are also target market.
Exactly.
Because they are like, hey, let me go stay with family,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll try to save some money to go.
Yeah.
So people may naturally think renters are the ones,
Mm-hmm.
but people with the family, they may not be able to afford it. But there are certain people like who would stay with the families, just try to, garner some money together to be able to go. So between those two, it's a big one. I know you highlighted the black one, the green one too is an opportunity area.
Oh yes, it's an opportunity. Okay. So someone will say, oh, but why is it so why is it so low at 10%? Well, there are a lot of reasons, right? Number one, getting land, the land title issue. Again, that could be a topic for another discussion. But if you're West African, that's one. And then high costs, and then very low income. All of that plays a role. All right. So, what do residents earn? Now we know that the majority of people are renters, right? So you have only 10% of people from our survey. And again, let me remind people, the majority of respondents so far have been under the age of 40. About 2/3 have been under the age of 40. So maybe that number will be slightly higher, maybe when you hit maybe 50s or 60s. So just to clarify that. So what do residents earn and what can they afford? So we're looking at what can you earn and what can you afford. So we know in America, for example, the standard rule of thumb is that housing should not cost you more than 30% of your income, right? So let's take a look. Here, 52% of our survey respondents, and this will blow your mind. You are in America and you are looking at these numbers, but 52% of our survey respondents earn less than 50 United States dollars a month. Think about that. To fill up, before it used to cost me about $55 to fill up my tank, but now the price of gas so high. I went to fill up my tank yesterday and it cost me $82. It has never cost me that amount of money ever since I've been driving to fill up my tank, but it cost me $82. So just think about it, right? I pay more to fill up my tank in just one time than 52% of our survey respondents earn in a whole month. Now, so you will see here we divided them into two. So 52%, this is the few survey, right? So the people on the ground, like the few survey, those respondents tend to be a little lower income or less than compared to people who fill it out online. So when you combine the two surveys, right? Rent under 50, the combined surveys, right? It comes to 66%. So 66% of people earn less than 50 United States dollars. So 89% cannot afford more than, when you jump up to $150, 89% of people cannot afford more than $150 a month in rent. So now it asks the key question, how can you provide what they need and still keep prices low? And that's where I think for governments that really care about their people, I think this would be a very good opportunity. So if you're a government official in West Africa, you are listening to this on YouTube, whether you're from Gambia, you're minister of, I don't know, finance, or minister of, I don't know, whatever ministry, or you're in Nigeria or Ghana, Sierra Leone, Guinea, wherever you are, what if the government gets in this? And now the government doesn't have to do it for profit, but what if the government provides affordable housing? It doesn't even have to be free. Just make it affordable. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was wondering, what do you think is the target annual salary for, or like, what do you think is the target number for for someone's annual salary that you would think will meet all that the standards of living for someone in Liberia? So like I'm seeing here, 50% of people are making $600 a year as a salary because they're making under 50. What would you consider a target salary for a person to have all their basic needs met and be able to live in a living standard property? Yeah.
Oh, good. So you asked a very good question. And I can speak from experience because I still go back. By God's grace, I should be going back in the next few months. I'll probably be there for some time. And I still have the majority of my family still lives there. I'll say about maybe 90% of my family still lives there. So I'm still in contact. Now, everything depends on your lifestyle, personal preferences. Like, for example, if I were to live in Liberia, my standard of living, what I want, would be a lot higher, right? So I would say I would need at least $5,000 a month, right? And I'll show you in upcoming slides. We asked them, how much money will you need to earn on a monthly basis to live a comfortable life? And they tell us. So some people say, oh, all I need is between 150 to 300. Some people say, all I need is between 300 to 500. We kind of give ranges. So you kind of have an idea. Of course, you'll never have something that'll be uniform because it depends on your situation, depends on the kind of lifestyle you want to live. Some people want more, some people want less. But we ask them directly. And I'll show you that in upcoming slides.
So just to add, I'm from a different country in Africa. So, without a luxury like no car, just public transportation and stuff, about $200. That's what they're looking for. That's just basic. Like housing, feeding, food. Just transporting yourself one way to the other, taking the bus or trains. About 200, that's what they're looking for. Now, if you look at even that, and you say, people are making 1/4 of that, right? 50 then. How do you create that income? And stuff like that. So,
well, that's what I was going to follow up with. The second question is obviously these countries have money within them. What is where do you feel like the money is being leaked the most, that it's not being distributed to the general public?
Oh, that's man. If we could have another meetup event just to talk about that, but I'll just summarize it, right? So, there are a lot of reasons. Corruption is a major one. Corruption is a major one. Exploitation is a major one. And I'm going to get a little political here, a little controversial, but I'm going to go there a little bit. For the longest time, Africa has just been a source of resources where you just come in, extract and go. Extract and go. The leaders, and it's obvious, everybody knows about colonization, all of that stuff. And it was not too, the last country just got their independence in 1994, which was South Africa. So in recent memory, like countries got their independence in 1964. There were people who were born in 1964 who are still alive, right? So it was not too long ago. For the longest time, exploitation and colonization. So pretty much what happens is Africa is just the source of resources. They just extract these resources and they don't build industries. They don't empower the local. Because I tell people all the time, the most important resource of any country is your human capital. It's not your gold, not your diamond, your human capital. Sadly, African governments don't invest in human capital. We don't invest. So I'll give you an example. Burkina Faso, is the hardest kid on the block now in Africa, right? Everybody knows Burkina Faso. So let's give an example of Burkina Faso and to tell you what good governance can do. So within Traore, right? So within few years, I think 3 years, he came and changed things around. So for example, instead of just exporting the gold, he said, okay, you know what, we're going to refine the gold, we're going to add value to it, do all of those things here, and sell it at fair market price. And just that one little change, he has been able to create thousands of jobs just with that one little change, and he has been able to impact a lot of lives. So for example, Liberia, for the longest time, Liberia was the largest rubber producer in the entire world. Liberia, right? If anybody heard of Firestone tires, there's a Firestone company in Liberia that was established long before World War II, I think in the 20s or the early 1900s. So that's where all the rubber came from to make the tires and all these things. But they just extracted everything. They didn't train the locals. They didn't add value. They didn't build any factories. So you notice that where there is no value addition, where there is no factories being built, there's no industry being built, you just come to extract the resources, then those people on average would tend to be very poor. So that is one of the reasons. So for example, a country like Liberia, I think now we dropped down a little bit. I think we'll be top 5 rubber producers. Why can't we have a tire manufacturing company in Liberia? We already produce the raw material. Why can't we do? Imagine you have a tire manufacturing company. Imagine you'll provide thousands of jobs instead of just stopping the rubber.
So are these rubber farms nationalized, or are
No.
they're owned by foreign?
They are owned by foreign companies, and again, that could be another discussion, but I'll just touch on that. Because when you just open your market up to foreigners, most of the time they will exploit your people.
Yeah.
So I'm a strong proponent of nationalization. There are certain things that just have to be for the benefit of the citizens. It shouldn't be up to profit.
Yeah.
Right? So and that's why, I'll probably get in trouble with some people, but that's why I love what Assimi Goita is doing in Mali. I love what the guy Chiani is doing in Niger. I love what Ibrahim Traore is doing, because you have to make the resources benefit the population. It should be for the benefit and not for foreigners.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So as you can see, the maximum affordability. So we asked them, what's the maximum they can afford, right? So yeah, their monthly income. We say you can see that everything here. So a research I was reading a long time ago, it was a UN report that said that 90% of Liberians earn, I think this was from 2020, it was a UN report, less than 90% of Liberians earn less than $300 a month. So, it kind of tracks, because 50% earn less than $50, then another roughly 20% earn less than $100. So that's 20 plus 50, 70. So you see, so it kind of roughly tracks. And then, what is the maximum they can afford in rent, right? So we see here, about 66% say they can afford less than $50. So it's almost free, right? And then 8% say they can afford $100 to $149. And then just 9% say they can afford $150 or more. But most of the houses being built in Liberia right now, they're going for like $800 $1,000 a month. The average Liberian cannot afford that. So what happens? Where the need is greatest, that's that's where the supply is lowest, and where the need is the least is where the supply is the highest. So the majority, I'll say 90% of the homes, or even 95% of the homes being built in Liberia right now, they are on the high end side, like 500 a month and up. So the only people who can afford that would be diaspora Liberians. Like, for example, if I were to go back to Liberia, I can easily afford $500 or even $1,000 a month rent. But the average Liberian doesn't even earn $500 a month. So you pretty much lock those people out. So we'll come here to our next slide. So we wanted to know, because when you're building, because our goal is to build this, and this will be the challenge, to provide all these amenities, but make it affordable. And government of Liberia, if you're listening to me, we need your help, okay? What if the government subsidizes this, right? What if the government partners with us and say, okay, we will come in, we'll help you guys with funding so you can be able to achieve your, because our goal eventually is to build this all throughout the country, and maybe all throughout West Africa. But it's something that you cannot do alone. The government has the means. What if there's a partnership? Even if you guys don't want to build it, what if there's a partnership where you provide some tax incentives, like here you do in America, right? You provide tax incentives for developers to build these things, but nothing, right? So government of Liberia, if you're listening to me, this is something you can do to help your citizens, right? So we wanted to know, because wanted to know, what do they use to cook? Because if you have a home or a house, you have to cook. So we see here that 83% of our people use charcoal to cook. And I'll show you guys some pictures if you don't know what that is. They use charcoal to cook. 11% use gas stove. 3% use firewood, and only 3% use electric stove. So most of us in the DMV, we use electric stove, right? But only 3% over there. So now you may be wondering, what is that? Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. So you can see for yourself here. Okay, so you see the top left image, charcoal, right? So that is what it looks like. So you have this thing, and my brother Lamy knows this. So there's a way to cut the trees down, they turn them into charcoal, and then they put them in that stuff, and then you light it up, you cook. So that's charcoal. First of all, it's not good for the environment because you're cutting down trees. So you can, with this, you can kill multiple birds with one stone, right? You can solve multiple problems, the environmental impact, and we can talk about that, right? Massive deforestation, which with climate change and all of that stuff. But you have charcoal. Then using firewood, so you go in the bush, you cut down trees, and then you light them up. So that's what firewood, right? So 83% of people, that's what they use in Monserrado County. Now, when you go into the rural areas, that number will probably be, flipped and reversed. You have more people using firewood, right? And then, gas stove, now it's not your typical gas stove like here when we talk about gas stove, that is what it is. So they have like a propane tank, stuff like that. That's what they use. So that's the number. So what if you build affordable housing where they don't have to damage the environment? They have affordable housing, they can afford it, and they live with dignity, with just the bare minimum. Is that something we can do? And with government partnership, 100% we can be able to do. Now, the next thing we ask people is, where do they get their water? Because water, again, when in America, most all developed countries, you don't even have to think about this, right? It comes as a second thought. You wake up, you go and take hot shower, You turn your tap on, you have hot water, like you have the convenience. But these people don't have it. Look, 55%, and this is the capital city, by the way. I have to emphasize that. This is not rural areas. This should be, quote unquote, the most developed or most financially or economically well off part of the country. 55% of people still draw waters from well, and I'll show you pictures of what I'm talking about. 55%, and I was part of that 55% when I was a little kid. I started drawing water when I was like 7 years old. Because as a kid you have to work, right? And I did that up until I was a teenager, up until I came to America. But people, again, we're in 2026, guys. People are going to Mars. They want to put humans on Mars, into space. But yet and still, our people are still drawing water from well. It shouldn't be that way. Now, you can upgrade a little bit. You go to hand pump. So now instead of, because when you're drawing water, there are a lot of times growing up where kids drop into wells and they die because you have an open well, you're drawing water. 8, 10-year-old kids, a lot of my neighbors who are growing up, they drop into wells and drown and die. So now, if you are able to upgrade a little bit, that means your family has a little bit more money. They can put a hand pump in your yard. But that one is secure, so there's no risk of drowning. And about 38% of our respondents have hand pumps. Only 7% of our respondents, and this is in the capital city, only 7% of our respondents have indoor running water. And it's not linked to like a water treatment plant or anything. You just drill your borehole, you put up your water tank, and then, so it's like a one-man show. But even that, only 7%.
Like a cistern.
That's a system. So let me show you. Let's come back here to our images. So when I was studying about drawing water, so you see this lady drawing water from a well, that's what it looks like, right? So there's a huge risk. I know several people when I was growing up who died from that. If you upgrade to the right, you have, you pump water from outdoor hand pump. So that's a little up. Only 7%, the lady in the right who has a sink over there, only 7% of people have that. What if we can provide that to thousands of people?
Would you want it to be a secular system like a cistern or a rain catcher, or would you want it to be more so like a infrastructure water plant?
An infrastructure water plant would make the most sense, because now you're able to distribute water over longer distances and to more people. Yes, but it will require a lot more upfront capital. And that's where, and I keep emphasizing here, this is where the government comes in, because you have one government official can steal 50 million, but to build what we're trying to do, phase 1, it's just a few $1,000,000. It can be done if people have their priorities straight. Then we come back here. So the next question we ask is, how do residents get their power? Power meaning electricity. So you can see here. Now, if you are to go to Nigeria, this would be a lot more different. and for my Nigerians listening, let me know if I'm wrong. But the last time I visited Nigeria, this was like 2018, most people have their generator, either generator or your solar panel, right? But Liberia, recently, over the last 5 to 10 years, let's say the last 5 years, one of the bright spots is they've been able to expand the electric grid. LEC stands for Liberian Electric Corporation. So that's a government-owned, power company. So at least the good thing is they've been able to expand that in the capital city area, right? Now, there's a little disclaimer. It's not 24/7 electricity. So they do power rationing. So that means, okay, you know what, we can, this community, this side of town, so let's say it's DC, right? So we say, okay, maybe Northeast DC, you get power every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's say every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then Southeast DC, you get power every Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. So it's not constant electricity. There's power rationing. Sometimes you go 2-3 days without power. But at least it's an upgrade compared to before where there was zero power, right? So the majority of our respondents get some form of electricity, even if it's 2 or 3 times a week, but they get some form of it through the Liberian electric grid. A small percentage of them have no electricity, and very tiny percentage, less than 5%, have solar panel. Now you see a community neighbor. When I was growing up, that was big. What that means is, let's say I'm the rich guy in the neighborhood, and I have money, so I'll go and get a big generator, right? And then I will sell power to my neighbors. So that's called community power. And that's what some people used to do. It was like a form of business. So I'll get, if I had the money, get a big generator, maybe, I don't know, 100 kVA or 500 kVA, get it, and then supply 20 to 30 people. And then you pay me every month. And I run the lines to your house. But I guess that's a good thing. I was actually surprised by this. This was one of the bright spots in the research, because when I was growing up, LEC, at most, that would probably be 5%. But when you go to Nigeria, because they've been having power issues, when you go to Nigeria, the generator and solar panel will be much higher. Then we asked about internet, right? Everyone takes this for granted. We asked about internet. Do you have internet at home? And 93% of our respondents, the total few survey and Facebook, 93% of our respondents said they have no home internet. Now, for those of you in the telecom industry, this is a golden opportunity. What if you can provide affordable home internet to people? There's a market for it. There's a need for it. The only thing is, can it be affordable? So if you can provide that, and you'll see later on in the survey, we ask them, what do you want in your home? And of course, it's not too much to ask. They say, we would like to have, home internet, running water, electricity. These are bare minimum. They're not asking for luxury, right? What if you could do that? That's a business by itself, right? You can solve problems and make money at the same time. So 93% have no home internet. So what is said here for the investor? Again, internet connectivity is aspirational for most Liberians. Again, and Liberia is the microcosm, because I keep saying most West Africans were kind of connected, right? Yet, nearly none of them have access at home. So if you can, Starlinks, has started to make inroads. Now, it's still expensive. Last time I checked, it was like $450. A lot of people can afford it, but at least those who have money now, you can go and buy your Starlinks, and it gives you internet at home. So what do residents say the biggest challenges are? Again, the whole point of this is to ask them, to hear from them. The majority, let's say the majority here said high rent, right? Almost 20% said that high rent is the biggest challenge. Then we have here no running water. is second. Then poor roads. You may say, but what does poor road have to do with housing? Well, if your house is not on the main road, you have to maybe walk maybe 5-10 minutes or drive 5-10 minutes to your house. And sometimes between the main road to your house, there's potholes, or when it rains heavily, like it's impossible for it's impossible for a vehicle to go through. So that's what they mean by poor road. And then all these other ones here, overcrowding, no electricity. You see that no electricity is very small percentage, because this is the capital city. So most people, again, it's not 24/7 electricity, but most people have electricity at least 2 or 3 days a week. So that's the bright spot. And then we left another category there for none or other, right? So we're not sure what those are. Like either they don't have any housing problems, which I doubt, or they have problems, but it's not one of these we listed. So will residents move to a better community? That was the question, because you want to know, okay, so we've identified the need. So these people, we've identified the problem. Now we want to see, okay, now we ask them, okay, so you've told us all these problems you have. What if we have a solution? Will you want this solution? And we ask them, 97%, both surveys, we ask them, will you want where you live, your estate, like estate is a group of houses in the same, like here in America, we call them residential communities. But in Liberia, you call them estate. So we want a modern estate with running water, electricity, and internet. 97% of our survey respondents said yes. Now we ask them, will you be willing to move 5 to 15 minutes away at the same rent, right, for slightly better? They say yes. Then we ask them, will you be willing to move 1 to 2 hours away for a better home that have these things, running water, electricity, and internet? And 92% said they will be willing to move up to 2 hours away, 2 hours drive away from where they live, just to have running water, electricity, and internet. So what this tells us here, that location is really not that much of a problem. People rather move 2 hours away to have running water, electricity, and internet than be where they are. So pretty much wherever you put it, if you have these things and it's affordable, people will come. That's a major insight. And then we ask them, would you like to move to such an estate? No. And 97% in both surveys say yes. Now, what type and size of homes do residents want? We're almost finished. We have about 4 slides to go. So what type and size of home do residents actually want? So you can see here, so 37%, right, of our residents here said they want a 2-bedroom house, right? So 2 and 3 bedrooms, that's the sweet spot. So 37% said they want 2 bedrooms, right? Then 33% said that they want 3 bedrooms. So 3 and 2 bedrooms, you add it up, make up 70%. So if you're thinking about doing this, at least 70% of your homes or your apartments should be 2 and 3 bedrooms. That's where the demand is. And it will come here to 1 bedroom, it's just 16%. And it will come here to 4 bedroom, which is 11%. 5 bedrooms, there's not really that much demand. So the real demand is 2 and 3 bedrooms. Now, we ask them for their preference, like how much will you be willing to pay for a home that has all these amenities, like running water, electricity, all like what's the maximum? And the key question in the survey is, what's the maximum you can comfortably, and we use the word comfortably there, because sometimes you can be paying rent, but you're straining yourself financially. Maybe it's 50% of your income, right? So we wanted to see what they are comfortably, what they can comfortably do. So yeah, we can see it, the premium. And we're not even talking about more than 500, just 3 to 500, right? A very small percentage, less than 5%, said that they'll be able to comfortably afford that. And then $50 to $150 a month, roughly 45% of people say, yeah, I can comfortably afford $50 to $150 a month. And then those who say that I cannot even afford $50 a month, something less. Yeah, there are people who pay, some of our employees at Minzo Africa, some of them pay $25 a month for rent. But you should see where you won't even want to spend an hour there when you see the pictures. But this is where they live because that's what they can afford. And in Liberia, there is no housing code. Anyone can just wake up one morning and build whatever they want to. It's not like here in America, where if you want to build a house, you have to go through permitting process. Then after you build, they have to come and inspect. No, like over there, you can do whatever you want to do. On the books, there are housing codes, but they are not enforced. So if you see here, about 95% of our respondents can afford no more than $150. This is very significant because now if you really want to make an impact, then you have to find a way to build those houses to make them no more than $150 a month. So what's the key finding? As I said, 2 to 3 bedroom units is the sweet spot, right? Nearly half of the market needs housing below $50. Now, how much upfront do landlords demand? So this is another key insight. Again, for non-Africans, this is something that's going to shock you. In West Africa, again, I can only speak for West Africa because I've never been outside of West Africa, right? Like going to Eastern Africa or Southern Africa. So I can speak for what I know, and the survey backs it up. Paying monthly rent is not common. So you see, like you have to prepay your rent. So you can see that about 30% of people said that their landlords ask them to pay 6 months in advance. So you pay every 6 months, right? And then another almost 35% said is 10 to 12 months. So you want to rent a house or an apartment, your landlord say, okay, you got to pay it for the first 1 year upfront. Then every year you pay 1 year upfront, right? And I guess maybe the reason landlords do this is because the country is poor. So if you do every month, you're always worrying, oh, can this person make their payment next month, right? Whereas if you do yearly, you only have to worry about that once a year. So we see that there's a huge gap. 63% of people prepay their rent 4 to 12 months in advance. So what does this mean in practical terms? Let's say you have a family that needs $100 a month rental, right? That means they have to set aside up to $1,200 at once to be able to pay. So now you can see the problem. Folks are already poor, but now they have to come up with a huge amount of money. So the whole goal here at Minzo Africa is to help people. That's what the word Minzo means, heart. You have a heart for the people. It's not to make money. It's to help people to economically empower. Because when someone has a job, they're economically empowered. It gives them dignity. It gives them a sense of self-worth. And from our survey, and all of these are common sense, some surveys we did in the past, there's a direct link between crime and poverty. The more impoverished someone is, especially if they're under the age of 40 and they are male, the more likely they are to resort to crime. And if they're female, the more likely they are to resort to prostitution. And I'm sure that is not unique to West Africa. It's all over the world, right? Even here in DC, you find that the poorest parts of Washington, DC are usually the parts that have the highest crime rates, and the richest parts have the lowest crime rate. It's all over the world, right? So, yeah, at Means of Africa, we said that if we can economically empower people, we can solve so many of society's problems. You can reduce crime. If someone is economically empowered, they're less likely to engage in corruption. If a young man is economically empowered and some foolish politician comes and say, hey, I'll give you AK-47, go join me in the bush, let's start a civil war. If someone has a decent life, they have running water, electricity, they have their basic needs met, how likely is that person to join armed conflict? So you find out that all these things, if you economic, and the key point here for us at Means of Africa is people under the age of 40. We can be able to solve so many of society's problems, even the drug problem. There's a huge drug crisis in West Africa right now. And the two countries right now that are hit the hardest are Liberia and Sierra Leone. There's something called Kush. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Oh, Kush? Exactly. So it's a huge problem. A lot of young people, these are, these people are the future of the country, right? Because if you want to know where any country is headed, look at young people under the age of 30. That tells you where that country is headed. But sadly, for Liberia and Sierra Leone, a large percentage of young people are hooked to Kush, where they're pretty much rendered useless to society. They're not in school, they're not working, they're not doing anything. Think about those people, think about what your kids will become. Crime increases, all these things, right? So, but if you can provide hope to young people, you provide them employment, you can be able to make so much impact in society. And that's what we've done at Means of Africa. The people who are a part of Means of Africa, for example, and I'll just pause here to give a quick story. We'll soon wrap up. One of the guys, he joined us. He dropped out of school because when his father passed away in Africa, I don't know, maybe one or two countries will have student loans, but that's it. But his father passed away when he was a junior in college. His father passed away, and most of the time in Africa, the man is the breadwinner. So father passed away. There was no way to support him in school, so he had to drop out. So he was out of school, pretty much aimless in life, and he joined Means of Africa. And the money he earned, it was not much, maybe $500-$600 a month. It's not much to people in America, but if you're earning $500-$600 a month, you're in the top 10% of income earners in Liberia, right? And he was able to work and go to school, and now his graduation, he should be graduating this year, December, in the next 6 months, right? Success stories. And now he's getting his degree in IT, I think database, right? Think about his children. You've just changed not just an individual's life, but you've made an impact on a generation. Or there was another guy, a young guy in his early 20s, he joined us, and through what we're going, the income, everything, now he's in medical school, and he still works. He's in medical school, and that's a life you've impacted. Another girl, she's one of our team members in Nigeria, because we're also in Nigeria. We expanded to Nigeria 2 years ago. She lives in Abuja. Abuja is the capital city of Nigeria, right? She was got out of school, got her degree in chemistry. Very smart girl. No hope, nothing, no fear, hopeless. And she joined us. And just last year, she was able to achieve something for the first time. She just got her first apartment ever because of us, and she feels that sense of purpose, and she's making an impact. So these are the stories we have at Menzo Africa. And what if we can expand these stories to hundreds of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, millions? Sure, go ahead.
So you're saying these costs for 10 to 12 months for rent. Are these what is the money they're holding? Is it like, are they holding stacks of cash to pay a landlord that? Is it a digital form in which they can pay?
Good. So you have so many opportunities. Again, and I always tell people, if you're an entrepreneur, right? Every problem is a business opportunity. To an entrepreneur, every problem is a business opportunity because you can't make money until you solve problems. So to answer your question, there's something called mobile money. I don't know. Have you heard? You know what mobile money is, right? Like, oh, you don't know what? Okay. So mobile money is like just online banking, but on your phone. So you pay your rent. Like in Kenya, there is one called I just forgot the name of it. But in all these African countries, because the majority of the population, over 90% of the population, does not have a bank account, right? So it is on bank society. Like in Nigeria, you have something called OPay. I don't know, and they're even going public in a few months. You have OPay. So people use their phone. There's an app. You use that to send money to people, to pay your rent, to do everything, but it's all mobile. Yeah, mobile money, right? Yeah.
So if most people don't have smartphones, what's their option?
Oh, good. So for those who don't have smartphones, by the way, so to send money, you don't need a smartphone. Like you have a button phone. We call them, the phone like maybe 20 years ago where there was no smartphone, right? So all you got to do is text a certain code to that person. They'll have the mobile money number. You text it to them, you transfer the money. Or another people, cash is another thing. The majority of people pay in cash. They don't do. Less than 5% of the population even has a debit card. So it's either cash or mobile money.
And so usually you would say majority of people are holding large amount of cash to pay these to 10 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Is there would you feel like there's liability to holding a lot of cash in?
Oh, of course. I mean, cash, someone can, you keep your cash under your mattress. Someone can come and steal it, and that is it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if your money is in the bank, is protected. Yeah. So the majority of people use either cash or mobile money. Yeah, those are the two.
And that's just the difference of having a smartphone.
Exactly. So we can see here. So again, what is the investor insight? What if you were to offer an option for monthly payments? Now, you will see later on in the survey, I think it will be one of these slides we'll soon finish, but we asked them, would you like to pay your rent monthly? And what if we have salary deduction of your rent? So now instead of, because for the landlord, it gives you peace of mind, right? So you don't have to worry about someone defaulting. So now your rent payment comes directly from their check, because in Liberia and most West African countries, people get paid monthly. So it's not like here in America where you get paid every 2 weeks or every week. You get paid monthly. So what if the landlord partners with your company, and then whatever, if it's $50 a month and you're working, that just comes directly from your check to the landlord, right? And a good percentage of them, and I'll get to that, I think 40 or 50% of them say, yes, I'll be willing to do that. So the investor insight is monthly payment options will be a game changer. If you are offering, oh my God, your rent is affordable, you provide these amenities, and you're offering monthly payments, you will crush your competition. So who are these residents and how do they feel about Liberia? So we asked them, how do you feel about things economically. But first of all, what's your educational level? So we see a small percentage, less than 5%, have no high school diploma. Then another percentage, maybe around 7-8%, no, has a master's degree. And then another percentage, about roughly 15%, has an associate's degree. And then we see here high school grads, vocational. Now, our highest group, educational group, was bachelor's degree. This is not a surprise, right? So about 47% of our respondents have a bachelor's degree. So when you combine that with people who have associates and master's degree, people who have some type of college degree, that's 47%. Associate is 11, so that's 58%, and then master's is 5. So about 60% have some form of college education, which is good. It's good and it's bad also. So imagine you have a master's degree and you're still earning less than $150 a month. Think about that. So you can see this kind of cycles back, because now it kind of creates a negative feedback loop. So someone could say, and it happens all the time, like, oh, but what's the use of going to school, getting an education, when I get out of school, I'm still broke like everybody else. I can't find a job. So now we ask our respondents, how do you feel about the economy? How do you feel about the economy? 91% of our respondents, which, to be honest, as a Liberian, was very shocking, but I can understand why they say that, because you look at the numbers, what they're earning and how the country, but 91% of our respondents said that they're dissatisfied with the Liberian economy. 91%. I'll just give you guys an example. We just we made a job post announcement on Facebook a few days ago, and we're looking to add people to our survey team. And we made that job post within 24 hours. We had over 250 applications. And how much? Because it's just a little 3-week contract. They'll just be in the field, and we're going to, we'll take care of their feeding, because our guys in the field doing the survey, we provide the food, we provide transportation, and all of that stuff. So it was just $150, which is nothing. So in addition to feeding you and providing transportation for about 3 weeks, we gave you 150. So you think 150, come on, that's nothing, right? But even with that, within 24 hours, we got 250 applications. 250 applications on Facebook. That just tells you, and some of these people who apply, their master's degree holder, bachelor's degree, it just paints a very clear picture of how dire the economic condition is. So 91% is dissatisfied with the economic condition. Now, in this entire survey, what bothers me the most, and as an African, anyone listening to this, or someone who wants to see Africa progress, is this number, 97%. We asked them, if you had the opportunity to relocate abroad to America, to Canada, to Europe, will you relocate? And 97% of our respondents say absolutely yes. If you are a government and 97% of your citizens say that they'll relocate because of the condition in the country, you're doing something wrong. And I'm not trying to get political, but the sad thing is, this is not just Liberia. Go to Nigeria, go to Gambia, all over West Africa. And again, I keep saying West Africa because West Africa is what I know. I'm from West Africa, so I can't talk about what's going on in Eastern Africa or Southern Africa because I don't know anything about that. But I'm pretty sure this number will be in the high 80s or 90% range. And that's where we come in. We say, what if someone, at Means of Africa, we say that what if someone, and these people are not asking for much. And we ask them, how much would you like to earn? The majority of them will want to earn less than $500 a month to live a comfortable life. That is what the majority of them told us. And it's not, they're not asking for too much. Okay, yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. So now our residents open to new payment models, right? So 93% said yes. No, they will accept prepaid water where they pay for what they use, electricity, internet, all of that. And then 61% said they will prefer their rent to be deducted directly from their salary. That was the Facebook survey. Where? Exactly. So yes, they introduced that a few years ago. Yeah. Yes, they want that. Right? Prepaid. Now, we want to know what the typical Liberian home looks like, inside the typical Liberian home. So we asked them, do you currently have indoor bathroom? About 79% said yes, that's good. We asked them, do you have indoor kitchen? About 67% said yes. Again, you're looking at, what do you mean you don't have indoor bathroom? Then where do you go to? Well, if you're not African, you won't understand. But if you're African, I don't have to go into detail. But 67% of them don't have indoor kitchen, right? They have to cook outside. Then we ask them, what material is your house made of? So 71% said concrete. Now, I could talk a little bit more about that. That is a problem. We are facing an affordability problem. And just by using dirt bricks, you're able to reduce your construction cost by at least 30%, even up to 50%. So if we have an affordability crisis, why is the majority of homes built with concrete? And don't get me started, concrete is not more durable than earth blocks. Like the Great Wall of China, earth blocks. The oldest structure in West Africa, earth blocks, right? And I'm going to step on my soapbox here a little bit. Africans have been brainwashed for the longest to think that anything Western is good and everything African is bad, right? That's one of the problems. Anyway, I won't go too much into that. So, and then we'll ask them, is your house in a fence or is it gated? About 14% said yes. Indoor running water. Only 7%, as I said earlier, have indoor water. And then home internet. Only 7% of people have internet in their home. So these are the 10 insights. We're wrapping this up. This is the second to the last slide. So these are 10 insights from the data and what this means for you if you're thinking about becoming an investor in the real estate sector in West Africa. Again, I will generalize West Africa because most of what you see in this data for Liberia will apply, I'll say at least comfortably 70 to 80% will apply to all of West Africa. So number one, rental demand is massive. There's need for rental demand. The market is tilted towards renters. Number two, that most residents earn less than $150. So affordable housing below $150 is where the highest demand is. Number three, 97% of people want modern housing, housing with just amenities like running water, internet, all of that. They're not asking for much. So the demand is there. Number four, running water is the number one gap, right? only 7% of people have it. So what if you provide that? That would be a game changer, right? So whoever provides it wins the market. And again, people said they're willing to move 2 hours away from where they are right now just to have running water. And 93% have no home internet. So if you can do any Starlink or Wi-Fi bundle, that would be a game changer. 63% of renters pay 6 to 12 months upfront. What if you provide monthly rentals and you deduct that from people's paycheck? That would be a game changer. 2 to 3 bedrooms are the sweet spot. So if you're an investor in real estate in West Africa, 2 to 3, according to our survey respondents, 70% of them said they want a 2 or 3 bedroom unit. That is where the demand is. Number 8, 92% will move, as I said, 1 to 2 hours away for better housing amenities. And number 9, 93% will accept prepaid utilities. They only pay for what they use. Again, here in America, like you're like, duh, you don't do that. Well, that's not the case. And number 10, 50% of our people cannot afford even $50 a month for rent. So if you can do a tier model of workforce and affordability, that would be a game changer. So Liberia is ready. West Africa is ready. The question is, are you ready? So the data is clear. There is massive unmet demand for quality, affordable rental housing in Liberia and West Africa. Developers who move first with the right product, the right price, and the right amenities will build the most important residential communities in West Africa. So thank you very much. If you want to join this, you have a flyer. We have our website. You can join. Yeah, you can scan our QR code. You can sign up to our email list, and you can pass it in. You can sign up to our email list where you get notification about our next meetup, and then just things that can get you involved. That will just give you more information about what's happening on the ground in Africa. So thank you very much. This is the end of it. I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
I have one.
Sure.
So I know this is more of like a chicken and the egg problem. So as far as like what do you think comes first? Is it the jobs that come first to provide incentives to build housing? Or is it you build the infrastructure first for these people, then they have the social safety net in order to get better jobs?
That's a very good question. So if I were to guess, I would say the job situation, because most people, again, when you're an investor, you're looking to make money, right? So there is the perception out there is that there is no real profits in providing affordable housing. But this research actually proved me wrong, because there are a lot of ways you can construct, you can do this and to make it affordable. So investors will just go for the premium end of the market, right? Because that is what they believe they demand. But let's say the population was doing well economically. Let's say if the average Liberian was earning $1,000 a month, then paying $400 or $500 a month would not be a problem. So the economic condition in the country is the main reason. So if you can solve the economic problem in the country, then by default, you solve this, because now investors will be incentivized to build more housing units because they know people can afford it. The reason they can't build these is because they've assumed that A, maybe there's no demand, or B, there's demand, but there's no profits. But our research showed that you can actually meet the demand, you can solve the problem, and you can make money.
So what's the average cost of building an apartment complex in Liberia?
That's the average. Again, it depends on what amenities are included. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it depends what amenities are included. So I would say the average cost, if you're just building something simple, let's say a 3-bedroom soil earth block house without these amenities, it should be around 3,000. If you're adding these amenities, again, if it's a standalone, because if you're building at scale, of course it'll be cheaper materials, all of that. But if you're standalone, that have these amenities, maybe $8,000 to $10,000. Again, that is if you really, again, stand alone, you're really getting the cheapest materials possible, and you're using earth blocks.
And this will provide all the infrastructure they need, running water.
Exactly. So now, if you add in running water, then that cost, you can add electricity, not a problem. You can add it. The biggest cost would be the infrastructure. Now you can add running water. As I said, you can dig a borehole and then have your water tank up top that just supplies units. So around 10 to 12,000 if you add that.
That's for the full setup.
Yeah, for the full setup. But this will just be limited to an individual unit.
That has 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, 2 to 3 bedrooms.
And then this individual unit that's $10,000 to $12,000. Realistically, how much could you charge per month?
So again, I'll speak for Liberia. So you could charge $500 to no more than $700 for 3 bedroom. No, that have these amenities. So there are people doing it, but the problem is the majority cannot afford it. Yeah. And for us, affordability is the biggest thing. It doesn't mean you don't build premium housing, but at least 50% of your units should be affordable.
Okay, and then so if they're charging 500 to 700, you're saying that realistically they need to be charging 100 to 50, and letting, I mean, that would be still in 10 years you'd make even.
Yeah. So the problem, and that's where I think the affordability crisis can be solved if the government steps in, because the government is not worried or should not be worried about making profits, right? So if the government can subsidize these investors, then that takes away because most of these investors, I'll tell you, real estate investors, for the ones that are doing renting, first of all, most of them don't do rentals. Most of them sell, right? You build it and sell it because they get their money. It's a quick turnaround time for their cash. But most of them want to break even within 5 years. Yeah. But it's impossible for you to build these affordable homes and charge those prices and break even in 5 years. The earliest is probably 10 years. Yeah. And most people don't want to do that. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much. Any questions, any comments? No questions? Okay. So we'll end it here. Again, for those of you watching online, our website here, let me come up here so you can see it. Our website is, you can go to Africa Development. It's a long word, but Africa Development and CapitalForum.com. So when you go there, you can learn more about what we're trying to do. You can come here, register your interest. There's a quick form you fill out here so we can add you to our email list, and you can be able to connect with future entrepreneurs on the ground in Africa, people who are making the impact that we need. And you can get notifications of events here in the States. So with that, thank you very much for joining us. And if you join, you're going to see, if you sign up for our email list, you're going to get notification about our next event. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.